After only having won one game in 90 minutes, Portugal are our new European champions, and they did it without Cristiano Ronaldo on the field. Joining me to review Euro 2016 is Golf News Deputy Sports Editor Duncan Hare and sports reporter Ashley Hammond. So gentlemen, I think we should begin with discussing the overall tournament, and I think the first point is the new format. Did it work? Didn't it? Tell me.
Yes and no in terms of the new format. I think it has been wonderful to see nations such as Wales and Iceland do so well in a championship that they might otherwise not have got into. On the other hand, though, it's definitely affected the quality of the tournament. Or that could be that the top sides just haven't turned up.
Yeah, I think it really affected the quality of those group games. A lot of teams are just looking out for draws, and I can't see beyond that. That was really a negative aspect to the football, and it really hindered the viewing quality of especially the early stages of the tournament.
It is something they're going to continue, though. UEFA themselves believe that the 2014 format is a success, and with the Euro 2020 being across Europe with games all over the continent, it does seem something that they're actually going to persist. It's something that they think has been a triumph for football, that smaller nations have actually done well in the tournament. The problem is that you can't really change the actual draw format. You're always going to have that third place, someone that has to get into the knockout
it's
stage.
That conundrum, isn't it?
It does, isn't it?
You look at the four best third place teams that went in. You had Slovakia, Portugal, Republic of Ireland, Northern Ireland. Obviously Portugal went on to win it. So, and also Northern Ireland didn't go much further, did they? Slovakia.
It's not even like, I think the problem is it's getting that halfway house that is satisfactory for everyone. The problem, do you go up to 32? Then UEFA's point is that your bread and butter of international football, which is the qualifying, becomes affected. You almost guaranteed to actually get into it in the first place.
The qualifying becomes obsolete, then, doesn't it?
Precisely.
So, for better or for worse, what teams have kind of surprised you guys the most over the last 4 weeks?
You have to go for Iceland and Wales. They're the two teams. Before the tournament, I would have said Iceland, Wales. I would have written them off as bottom of the group teams, and they've gone and surprised everyone, really. Get into the quarters for Iceland and get into the semis for Wales. Can't look beyond those two. Really.
Wales even more so than Iceland. I mean, to achieve what they've done, getting to the semi-finals is absolutely magnificent. Iceland added so much to the tournament.
And on the flip side, and certainly from Duncan, I think I might know the answer to this, but what teams have kind of let the side down a little bit? Who has been least impressive?
Well, at the beginning of the tournament, when you asked me which team I thought was going to win,
I wasn't going to remind you.
I think England might have been the biggest disappointing factor of this tournament for me personally. I think this man probably revelled in it a bit more.
Absolutely. That I agree with you 100%, the revelling part. I actually disagree with you in terms of the disappointment, though, to an extent. I'll temper this. England obviously was, the biggest shock in international football, England losing to Iceland. But my point is always that the expectation levels on England are far, far too high. England got where they should get in a tournament. Perhaps they should get to quarter-finals. England are doing exceptionally well to get to the semi-finals. The expectation levels heaped upon them by the country's media and the fans is unrealistic. The biggest disappointment for me at Euro 2016 was Belgium. Belgium by far, who I tipped as the winners of the tournament, and who just didn't really show up as a team. They disappointed again. The talent in that squad is phenomenal, and they just don't quite seem to gel. They just don't seem quite to get it. And the Wales quarter-final, when they were beaten by a team, proved that completely.
Yeah, well, again, coming into the tournament, we talked about Belgium, and I looked back to the last World Cup. They only got to the quarters. They didn't really impress. They've come in heavily ranked as well. They were ranked number 2 in the world. Ridiculous. What have they ever achieved to get number 2 in the world?
Oh, that's the FIFA rankings for you.
Yeah, and then they've got obviously pressure from that going in. So they, in the same vein as England, there's a lot of pressure on them. Maybe their media's not as crazy as the English press.
The interesting thing now is that the Belgium FA are saying they can't afford to sack Mark Wilmots. It seems obvious that someone else deserves a shot with his phenomenally talented group of footballers, but they're saying his payoff would be more than €1 million and they can't actually afford to get rid of him.
They need to win something to get rid of him.
Absolutely.
Now, UEFA have named France's Antoine Griezmann as their player of the tournament. Do you guys agree with that?
Yeah, totally. They obviously didn't win it, didn't have the greatest final, but he scored the most goals. I think if it's to the Opta stats. best striker, isn't he? You can't look beyond him.
I think it's actually very difficult to find anyone else that would. I mean, it really has been. I'll nick this quote from Henry Winter of the Times. I was reading. It's completely. It's been a tournament of occasional comets rather than a galaxy of stars.
Yeah.
The big names really didn't turn up at all. There's been very few very impressive performances from the ones that you expected before the tournament, and that has been a huge disappointment.
Yeah, in a regular tournament, Griezmann might not have got the player of the tournament, would he? I mean, he was always winning the final.
He was always one of those names that was going to be. I mean, he did so well with Atletico Madrid, but when you look at who else can challenge Gareth Bale, perhaps Gareth didn't even make the UEFA's team of the tournament. You know, it's been disappointing in that respect.
The big teams didn't show up. The big players didn't show up. In all, I'd say it's been a pretty disappointing tournament.
Right, I mean, yeah.
I think we were talking about this the other day, weren't we? Looking back, can you remember a more disappointing tournament? I can't.
Neither, not in my lifetime.
A more
anyway.
forgettable tournament.
Particularly when you compare it to my favourite tournament, which is Euro 2000, and the quality in that was unbelievable. When you look at Italy got to the semi-finals, brilliant team. You look at the Netherlands, in the final. The Netherlands were sensational getting to the semi-final, and you actually look at the quality. Like you take Griezmann, okay. Take this France squad team that you have at the moment, compare that to the World Cup 98 team and the Euro 2000 team. Who out of the current crop would actually get in that team?
Yeah.
Griezmann, maybe.
Not with Thierry Henry and not with Nicolas Anelka, the likes of
David
those two.
Trezeguet,
David Trezeguet.
Zidane just behind them as well.
Yeah.
Pogba was hugely disappointing. I mean, did you put Pogba ahead of Patrick Vieira, Emmanuel Petit, perhaps Lloris ahead of Barthez?
Really a disappointing tournament in terms of Germany not showing up fully, Spain sort of fading, didn't they? And Italy, they're always up there, but this year I really wrote them off. Like I wrote them off going into the tournament. I didn't think their squad, looking through their squad, it didn't look good, but they really punched above their weight to get where they got.
I agree. The one I disagree with Germany to an extent because I think Germany just lacked a centre forward. Even against France in the semi-final, if they had taken the chances that came their way, if they had a goal scorer, I think Germany would have...
Muller, very disappointing.
Very disappointing.
Yeah.
Which nation brought the best supporters along with them to this tournament? After the routine unpleasantness we saw in the first couple of games, certainly there looked like a bit of a carnival atmosphere, certainly when we got to the round of 16.
For me, looking at the best fans, I'd say Iceland, obviously, with their Viking clap.
Yeah, the big...
What else? Wales
Superb.
got a good. Wales fans got a good sort of reception as well, didn't they, for their good spirited
and
nature.
not forgetting, of course, Will Grigg's on fire.
Yeah.
The song of the tournament.
Didn't get a game, did he?
Didn't get a minute on the pitch, and yet he's
get a game.
We can air that if you want to sing the whole chorus.
Yeah. No, passing
Your
that.
defence is terrified.
Will Grigg's on fire.
Now, of course, the biggest talking point is, of course, the fact that Portugal, against all the odds, let's be honest, went on to win the European Championships. How on earth did they do that?
Yeah, go on.
And no idea. I don't even think that's an incorrect answer to give. Honestly, no idea.
Most undeserving champions in European Championship history.
Wouldn't disagree. If you look back to 04, which of course was held in Portugal and they lost to Greece in the final, Greece won matches throughout that tournament. The Portuguese team who have won 1 out of 7 matches in normal time.
Greece had the same pragmatic approach as Portugal, or rather Portugal have had the same pragmatic approach as Greece. But I think that because Greece were underdogs, massive underdogs going into that tournament, people let them off the pragmatism because they understood it, because they needed to be like that. Portugal, the players they've got, they should have played better than they did.
Far better, far better. I mean, as we were saying, if you'd said Portugal going to win this as a dark horse, yeah, you'd have expected their top players, the Ronaldo, to be outstanding, top players to turn up. Wasn't the case at all.
Their winning this underlines how disappointing the tournament was for me, because if you finish third in the group, you shouldn't get out of the group. 3 draws, they got through, and then they've not won a game in 90 minutes other than the semi-final.
One out of 7, one win out of 7 matches. Listen, if we were sitting here before the tournament, which we were, and one of us had said dark horse champions Portugal, we'd have gone, yeah, I can see that. Ronaldo's there. They've got some good players, but no one you'd have thought it would have been because Ronaldo had a superb tournament.
Yeah.
Other players are
firing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Portugal were so disappointed. They really were so disappointed. I mean, bar the final, semi-final, they did a job against Wales. But one win out of 7 matches, the manner in which they got through. The Croatia game was an offence to football. It was so bad.
Yeah, that's probably the worst game of the tournament.
Easily the worst game of football I've ever seen in my life. It was.
If you speak to Portugal fans after the Hungary draw, they drew 3-3. I was in Lyon for that game, outside the stadium. They were saying we want to get. Hopefully, this coach gets sacked. We're not playing well enough to get past the last 16. And I believe them. They were playing awful. I mean, in that Hungary game, they actually played really well, but that's because their lives depended on it, and they needed to get. Hungary went ahead each time, and they were just pulling it back. Ronaldo had a great game, to be fair, but over the course of the tournament, I thought Ronaldo was pretty mediocre.
Yeah, utterly.
And all this stuff about the outpouring of affection for Ronaldo after winning this, after Portugal won this, has just been a bit confusing. I mean, he played 24 minutes, came off injured, and then maybe, he was a good cheerleader. But after that, I mean, I can't really see... It's not, Ida got the winning goal, unless I saw a different game. I'm not sure. Did he come back on?
It was certainly Ida, yeah.
Seriously, on Ronaldo, he's not even been played in his correct position. He's not a centre forward. Him and Nani have not gelled properly throughout the tournament. Portugal won that in the final through their defence. Pepe was outstanding.
Yeah.
Santos got his tactics spot on. Carvalho just right front there to stop the supply line to Griezmann.
And that's what they did successfully. They didn't totally stop that supply line. Griezmann should have had, he should have got some of those goals from the efforts he had. He should have scored.
Yeah, the goalkeeper had a magnificent game in the final as well.
Great goalkeeping, great defence. Portugal did well to cut out the options, and then they got that strike, which was a moment of magic, and that's what you need.
It was, but even then, as I say, the moment of magic has come from a referee error. I really do believe that. If Koscielny has not been booked 2 minutes before that for a handball that actually Eders handled, Koscielny just goes through the back of him. Yeah. He just commits a professional foul, takes a yellow card. There's a free kick to Portugal. But because he's already turned him, it's in the back, I'm going to go off if I touch him. Yeah. And that allows Eder to actually get the turn away and get the shot in.
Where do France go from here?
I don't think you should be too despondent if you are Didier Deschamps or if you're a France fan. There are enough there to give you encouragement, and there's enough young players in the French squads to... Umtiti came in and did well at the back. They've obviously Griezmann. Griezmann's very young as well. Even performances from likes of Payet, who apparently West Ham are valuing at £50 million now, which would seem to be dead money if you want to pay £50 million for a 29-year-old. But someone who perhaps hadn't proven himself, or you would argue hasn't been given the opportunity to prove himself, came in and did well at different points during the tournament. I think France can look forward to 2018 in Russia with some confidence. I wouldn't think it would be beyond the realms of possibility that France could go to Russia and win that tournament.
I'd be a bit negative. I think this was their chance to win it at home and they messed up, and either the players bounce back from that or this was their moment and they go through a bit of a dry run. But they're all young, aren't they? So they can, in their minds, this will make them more sort of more resilient, more wanting to get back to winning ways. But it's really... I
think there's more to come from them, though. Pogba obviously was one of the massive disappointments of the tournament.
They're all young, aren't they? It's good, so.
They have youth on their side.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much, gentlemen. So no sooner have we said goodbye to Euro 2016 as we look forward to the beginning of the new domestic seasons, which begin all around the world over the next few weeks. As ever, you can catch the latest news, views, fixtures and results on golfnews.com. Thank you very much for watching.